Hello there, it's Myrna Loy, Blackbright News, and today's video is about the £3,000 they are now imposing on Indians coming into the country with effect of November this year. Now, there is this thing about illegal immigration, and they reckon that India is at the top level. That's where most of the illegal immigrants are coming from. This is what they claim. They claim that there's 5 nations who exploit Britain, who come here. They have children. The children, I think they said there was about 120,000 children who are here undocumented, and 60,000 of those are from undocumented parents. So what they've decided now is to impose a levy on all Indians coming to the UK effective November on a tourist visa. I can understand why this happens. Illegal immigration, the definition of illegal immigration is those people who come to the country under the guise, some of them come here legally, and once they're in, they don't go back. Some people, they have children, and they come to the country particularly to have children, and they believe the children are going to keep them here. And you have those victims of trafficking who come as stowaways or come by other illegal methods, and they destroy their passports, so the government doesn't know which country to return them to. So I'm going to show you the video about the new levy on Indians.
Come November, pay £3,000 to get a 6-month UK visa. Branded high risk, India is now clubbed with Pakistan, Nigeria and 3 other countries. Even though it's a pilot scheme and not everybody will be asked for a cash bond, the controversial proposal is targeting only people from non-white Commonwealth countries. So is this outrageous stereotyping a valid safeguard or just plain old politics?
But questions are being raised on why specifically these 6 nations. British High Commission has told NDTV that is based on 2 criteria. One is that most applicants come from these nations, and secondly, according to the analysis of the Home Affairs in the UK, most defaulters, most people who either overstay their visa or stay back in the UK come from these nations.
According to a British Home Office report last year, the majority of illegal immigrants are from these 6 countries. But at the same time, India also contributes massively in terms of tourism. Last year, 296,000 people were granted 6-month visas from India. This isn't the first time that a British government has come up with a scheme like this one. In fact, way back in 2000, the Labour government had come up with a very, very similar scheme. That had to be scrapped because various groups called racism. Now we can see that social media is reacting much the same way. So you can see the responses coming from across the board on social media have been very, very negative, and a lot of questions are being asked about this move. Will they be forced to scrap it or not? That remains the question. With Anchal Vora in New Delhi, Kajori Sen for NDTV.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? We've had the Windrush immigrants, of course, the Commonwealth immigrants. They're supposed to be Commonwealth citizens. We've had them under fire. Some of them, they've had to reverse it and bring some of them home. We've had a lot of people in their 60s and 70s being deported. And under the hostile immigration policy, UK is going to be a place that makes it so difficult for illegal immigrants that they're going to want to self-deport. The problem here with this is, I've talked about India, and yes, they're supposed to be at the top of taking advantage of the immigration system, and there are supposed to be more them, and they come at the top, and then there's Bangladesh, who are here illegally, or their offspring are. But you know, I was thinking about even with the Windrush Commonwealth citizens and those that they're deporting, they have no knowledge of why they're deporting them. And when you think that they are British citizens, or they were, or their children are British citizens, that should not be allowed. But it is happening, and people are being asked to produce papers for 4 pieces of ID showing that they worked or illegally in the country for every year they have been here. Now, I know in 2011, I think it was, I moved house. And one of the things I did when I moved house was to get rid of a lot of paperwork. And I remember, that's wrong. 2005, I moved house. And one of the things I did was get rid of a whole heap of paperwork, because I'm a filing freak. I keep everything, and it got to the point where I had so much documentation. So what I thought is, I said anything over 5 years old has to be, you know, I won't need it anymore. Anyway, I was made redundant in 2009, and when I went to the welfare office or benefits office or social security office, whatever they call it these days, they asked me for my mortgage papers from 2000, and they wanted to know the reason why I had remortgaged, and I had to prove evidence of that. And they wanted every single document, and that was in, you know, around 2009. And I struggled to find that document, not because I was hiding anything, but because you live in a more or less, you're hoping to live in a paperless society where you'd like to think that everything is scanned, and where it matters, they have copies of your documents. But when you're asked to produce these, you know, on a whim, or, you know, out of the blue, you're not going to have that documentation. It's absolutely ridiculous, therefore, to expect people to go back 60, 40, 50, 60 years and produce papers from that far back. I can understand people holding on to their birth certificates, but that's not going to help if you wasn't born in the country, but at least it proves where you were born. But to ask for people to evidence with 4 pieces of ID for every year you've lived in the country, that is absolutely ludicrous. So the Asians are on the chopping block. I don't know who's next. They claim it's because they're people of colour. I've never heard Asians call themselves people of colour before until now, but it's quite interesting. But what is interesting is that a lot of Asians have invested a lot of money in the UK. I mean, if you think about the houses, they own streets in the UK. So I'm not quite sure what's going to happen here. I think this might be the beginning of a revolution. Who knows? Anyway, I thought I would share that video with you, and so you can keep up to date with what's happening. And that's all for now. Bye-bye.